ladies, we are continuing on in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. This is our Big Book Summer Boot Camp, and we are smack dab in the middle of Step 4, and our attendance numbers are keeping steady, which is a really good sign. My name is Kimberly, and I am an alcoholic. So what we've done up to this point was we're cruising through step at a time. We're not reading the book line by line. So we've done Step 1. We've admitted that we were alcoholic. We've conceded to our innermost self that we are hopeless and doomed if we drink. We have moved along to Step 2, where we've, kind of been willing to believe in something. Some of us believe in God already. Some of us have been around and retreaded and believe in a higher power. And some of us are new and we're just getting into it. And so we're just going to believe that it works because we see other people saying it works. Whatever your situation, as long as you're willing to believe in something, you are on the right track. And then we've, Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. That care is a big, important word that a lot of people forget. And they sit there and they're running in their mud and they're trying to turn their will over and they're like, I don't know how to turn it over. No, we're just turning it over to the care of God. I still have my will. I still have my life to live. I'm just asking him to watch out and protect me and be my GPS. So we've made that decision. And along with that decision comes the action process. There is work to be done. And that's where we're at. So we are in Step 4, which is not scary. It's not awful. And so up to this point, we've done column 1, which is the people, places, and things with whom we are angry. Really simple. If I'm angry with them now, I write it down. If I'm not sure if I should write it down, I write it down. If I have to scratch my head and rip my memory apart and try to find it, it's probably not making you angry right now if you need to do that much work. So top of the head, who am I angry with? People, places, and things, write them down. Then we've written column 2, which is why I was angry. And we asked you to do that in point form. And we had a whole great conversation last time about why we do it in point form. And the reason we do it in point form is because we know the story. We don't need to write a paragraph upon paragraph of what these people did to us. And it turns into a victim impact statement. And we end up harming ourselves. And we end up sitting in that pain again. So we don't want to write out long, glorified paragraphs. We want to keep it simple. Right? Keep it simple, sweetheart. Who said that the other day? That was the best. And so we want to do point form. So my ex-boyfriend, column 1. Why I was angry, column 2. Well, he lied, he cheated, he stole, he manipulated, he gossiped, he was abusive. Right? I can put that into one-word things. We don't need to do long explanations. We can usually get it into 1 or 2 words. 3, try to be the max, because we can do a little short phrase if we can't. And now that brings us to column 3. But before we start column 3, I want to talk about mastering resentment, which is actually on the page after we talk about column 3. So I want to flip to page, hang on, doop-a-doo. 66, bottom of the page. But first we have a question from Priv. Hello.
Hey, real quick, those of us whose attention span is when stuff comes up as we're doing this, and you're like, oh yeah, so and our thinking's not linear, we're like, oh, I remember this person. We're just writing again, name and very brief why I was angry. Yeah. And we're allowed to go back and do that.
Yep, at any time. At any time. And when I say at any time, even when you've finished your Step 5 and we're doing Step 6 and 7 and someone shares and you're like, oh yeah, just write it down, do it. And if you need to talk about it with someone, call someone. Right? Sometimes I don't even call my sponsor about stuff like that. My hiking buddy Andrea is in this program. And I'll hike with her and I'll be like, oh yeah, this came up. And she'll be like, oh yeah, and we'll talk about it as we hike. So you don't have to call someone and be like, I need to do a mini Step 5. You just have to tell another human. It doesn't have to be. So you could do it at any time. Easy peasy. Any other questions before we keep going? Thank you for raising your hand and reminding me to ask for questions. I get so excited. And I'm eating strawberries. I have snack today. All right. So we're going to go to the bottom of page 66. And the reason is that before we talked about column 3, I wanted to talk about how we master the resentments in column 1 and 2. Because sometimes people have a hard time shifting from this person did this to me. They have a hard time making that disconnect. And that's what we're going to need to do when we start moving to the next 3 columns, especially column 4 and 5. So I want to plant a seed now about the people in column 1. And it's on the bottom of page 66. And it says, this was our course. We realized that the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick. This is the key to mastering your resentment against the people, places, and things in column 1. Mostly the people. And so what happens is, we talked about those, that how we set the ball rolling, how our fear, our self-delusion, our self-centeredness put us in a position where we stepped on the toes of others and that they retaliated and we got hurt and we didn't think it was our fault and we blamed them and we were a victim, right? And then we drank about it. So when we're going through this process of a 4, we're going to start to shift our thinking. And the first way we're going to start to shift our thinking is by thinking that these people, places, and things in column 1 are possibly spiritually sick. Mostly the people, right? It's hard to imagine that a building is sick, but whatever. That's just us being selfish. We'll get to that later. So when we're going, okay, well, so you're saying that everyone in column 1 is sick? Yeah. How do you know that? Column 2. Column 2 is the symptoms of their sickness, right? Because people who are well usually don't lie, cheat, steal, manipulate, be abusive. So we can say, okay, I know that the person in column 1 is sick because of the things in column 2. Those are the symptoms of their sickness. This is how we start to move forward. Does that excuse their behavior? No. Is that an excuse for their behavior? No. It just means that the people that were in your life, that you brought into your life most of the time, were sick people, just like yourselves. The difference is we're now on a journey to wellness. They might be, they might not be. It's not my business, right? That's just how I'm going to be able to bridge this little triangle or bridge or whatever from column 1 and 2 being a victim to column 4 and 5, where I find myself and I'm able to heal and grow and move into wellness. So it says on the top of 67, though we did not like their symptoms, those are the symptoms found in column 2, and the way they disturbed us, they made me angry, right? That's why they're there. They, like ourselves, were sick too. So we have an instruction now. We asked God to help show us the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. When a person offended us, we said to ourselves, this is a sick man. How can I be helpful to him? God, save me from being angry. Thy will be done. We avoid retaliation or argument. Tattoo that on your head or your hand or wherever you need. That's a post-it note, right? Stick that in your car. We avoid retaliation or argument. We wouldn't treat sick people that way. If we do, we destroy our chance of being helpful. We cannot be helpful to all people but at least God will show us how to take a kindly and tolerant view of each and every one. Does this mean that I have to suck it up when someone's treating me like shit? No. This means that I have a voice and I'm able to set healthy boundaries. And instead of retaliating and arguing, I can say, I don't like the tone of this conversation or the way you're treating me, so I'm going to leave now. And when you're ready to talk to me in a different manner and continue this discussion, let me know. And then you turn your ass around and you walk away. It doesn't mean I get to go, you're a this and a that, and you did this and you did that. I don't need to do that. I can just take my own business into account and say, you don't get to talk to me like that. You don't get to treat me like that. So I'm going to leave. Or I'm going to hang up. Or I'm going to delete you off Facebook. Or I'm going to whatever it is. But we don't get to throw things in their faces and point our fingers at them and point out their defects. That's not my job. That's their job to find their own defects in their own personal inventory. That's their job to be accountable to their God. It's not my job. I'm not the judge and jury. I'm only responsible for me. And then I get to pray. I did ask a question of my sponsor my first year of sobriety where I said, can I say this prayer out loud in front of them? Apparently the answer is no. This is something you do quietly in your head. And it can be so much as, God help me, right? If I'm getting frustrated or angry with somebody, I can quietly just say that in my head. You know, at the grocery store with the person in front of you at the self-checkout that has like 500 items and they're being an idiot. And you're like, oh, God help me. It's not my business. Stand and be quiet, right? I don't need to go and tell them, the sign says 20 items or less. Why are you in the self-checkout? It's not my business. My business is just to shut my mouth and be quiet. Right? I don't need to cause more problems because that's what this does. This is where we step on more toes. And then what happens? They retaliate some more. Priv?
Okay. I only have one comment here, and here's the thing. When I think retaliation, I think one of the things I've struggled with this, and I struggled with this in my marriage, which thankfully is we're both working on things very hard. But the retaliation was gossip. And that's a huge thing. And the way, I wouldn't confront him, I wouldn't be direct, but I would go to his friends, his family, this is what he's doing. And then, just throw the poor guy under the bus. He had no idea, whether or not he did these things, it was none of their business. And my pattern had been to do that with friends. Somebody was annoying me at a meeting, and I just sent a text to somebody else about and then so I understand I'm human. I have these faults, but that just stood out to me, and I put a heart by it. We avoid retaliation and argument, but I want, this is not who I want to be. This is not who God wants me to be. I don't, so this is volumes in these few lines. I love that. Get that tattooed. We avoid retaliation and argument. Gossip is a huge way that I've retaliated. And it's caused people to retaliate in turn. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And if you think about it, that action that we do, like Priv said, is gossip. But it also could be that loud sigh out loud. When you're at the grocery store and the old lady in front of you has more than 20 items and you make that audible noise of displeasure, that's not being kind and tolerant, right? I'm guilty of this one, honking your horn at people. That's not being very kind and tolerant, right? And then what happens? They retaliate. That's road rage. That's the circle of it, right? So it takes... And it's like, well, I didn't think of that. Well, yeah, that person driving that truck is sick. That's why he cut you off. That's why he's got big tailpipes and black smoke coming out, right? That's his sickness. Those are his symptoms. Me honking my horn because I don't like what he did, that's me instigating more problems. And it's that simple. It doesn't have to be someone in my life. It doesn't have to be someone I'm close with. It doesn't have to be a coworker. It can be that little old lady in the grocery store that's got more than 20 items in the self-checkout lane. Right? And I'm going, ugh, that's not kind and tolerant. So I have to watch myself for that stuff. It's those little things where I'm not being a good agent of God, right? That little old lady might be really scared of COVID and scared to go to the cashier. And she knows that she can control her environment at that self-checkout and put her salad Sandy on and do her thing and do her own groceries. Let her be! Not your business! It's giving you time to pray. Wendy.
I am Wendy. I'm a grateful alcoholic. Oh, I was just going to say, I was watching RML there doing those little stretches. I want to get mine out now. I'm serious. Like Kim says, I got to move, right? Last week. I just keep, like, for me, I'm 6 years sober, and I don't think I will, I won't say I don't think I will ever get it. But for me, it's taking so much practice, and what keeps coming to mind for me not to retaliate, and I did, and Kimberly was a witness on my post yesterday morning, right? I know when to slow down so I don't do this stuff, but even at that, I have to practice. And my triggers for me are always when I'm having a pain day. Because when I'm in physical pain, it throws my perception off of people, and then I take things the wrong way and I retaliate. And that's just not cool. Just not cool. Because what happens in return is I feel like a piece of shit afterwards. And I don't want to do that. And, you know, you said something just as little as rolling the eyes in the store, right? These are little things that are, for, like, I've been guilty of it, probably right in the supermarket. These are, for me, a way of judging others. Like, why can't they just go into the normal, like, get out of my way, you know, that kind of bullshit behavior. That's it. And it's not old behaviors, it's my still behaviors. And, when people say that, it's like, it's still happening. So, I have a lot of defaults and a lot of bad character defects. So that really stood out for me. Just that simple thing is, if I do that thing with the eye roll at anybody, it's always from me judging. So why else would I be rolling my eyes? If that makes sense. And, I'm not going to go into step 5, but when I did my step 5 after step 4, a lot of what I got is I need to be more kind, considerate, and slow the F down. And, I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you very much, ladies, and Kimberly.
Thank you so much, Wendy. I love you. And so there was a post, and Wendy read it, and that's the worst thing about social media and text messages, is the smallest sentence can be taken the wrong way, right? We don't know the tone, we don't know the inflection, and you don't know where the person is in their place in life when they're reading it, right? Right now, I'm in a great mood. 2 hours ago, I was ready to strangle my son and his dog along with him. So I could perceive something differently within those 2 time frames because I wasn't happy right then. And if I would have got a text message from somebody, the tone might have been just a little bit off, and I would have been like, whoa, right? And this is where I've learned to not answer text messages when I'm in that type of a situation, because for me, I know I'm but, and then they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, and then I realized my situation wasn't right when I read it. So that I hate text. I hate answering the phone. I prefer text messages, but I hate text messages because you can't get the tone sometimes. It sucks. I just like Zoom. You can see the person, you see their body expressions. Zoom's like my favorite thing. FaceTime me. Phone calls. I hate phone calls. My phone rings. I want to throw it across the room. Anyways, but yeah, so that's the thing. And the one thing I would say, like, especially like the grocery store, because I'm guilty of it, right? Like we all are. None of us here are not guilty of that. And what it is that's selfish, self-centered. Why should I have to wait for you to figure it out? I'm in a hurry. Ruth, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of using my time wisely, and I recommend it to everybody, especially since I've been sitting on the couch reading and doing nothing. You know, a couple of things. Y'all keep bringing up the grocery store. I do have Tourette's, and one of the only Tourette's has played into all of this very big. I'm realizing, but one of the things I always did get in school. Whoops, let me ixnay that. One of the things I did get in school was I would not using my time wisely because I always had nervous energy. It's a neurological disorder. So when you are in the grocery store, it's a good time to do the Kegel, ladies. I mean, when else are you going to do that little thing? That's so good. Especially you who's dating. You need to consider that too. Got to do the Kegel. Although I don't need my babies were cesarean. Listen, you hit the nail. I've only been at this for 4 months, and I so appreciate this speed because I haven't been working at this speed here. But you hit the nail right on the head, and I am out of a 35-year relationship and marriage, and there was a time I came from a religious background, and I know where he came from, and it wasn't good. And there is a relationship is non-existent now, and I kept, after the kids were born, come on, let's join a church, and he would have nothing to do with it. He had no spirituality, and there was no way. And I'm not going to blame him because I could have always said no, but alcohol and I kind of went off his. He was the engineer of my train because that's what we did, and it ended tragically. But I always had I could have always made the decision, I guess, to not. But I liked the wine. But you hit the nail right on the head, and this brings me back to my thought of God and a higher power. To me, it's like you put it out there. So here you are, my boomerang. I've been throwing it out there for 4 months. And I keep that boomerang. That higher power is going to bring it back to you. And you do. I mean, this sort of lays the groundwork for me to forgive so many people. Because it is my crap. And this allows me a path to forgive them. Because they don't get it. They're not getting the memo. Because they don't want to, they don't need to. It may have affected my life in that, divorce and that, kind of screwed my family in a way. But, yeah, that's kind of it's their too bad, not mine. So this just really hit right now. So thank you for that. And do the Kegel. And I'm sorry, I got to use my time wisely.
Thank you so much, Ruth. I love it. So now when we're in the grocery store, we're all going to be getting behind the lady with the fullest buggy, and we're going to be using that time to do our Kegels and pray. Okay, we're going to do just a couple more because we've got to move on to today's lesson, which is column 3. Kat. Sorry, I almost called you Kate. Kat.
Hi, guys. My name is Kat. I'm an alcoholic. You know what helped me a lot with this section here where, the sick man's prayer, where how can I be helpful? This is a sick man. Another way that I looked at it, that I heard a long time ago, and it really resonated with me, is a similar prayer. And it's, God, please help me see this person the way you do. Right? So instead of calling him sick, him or her, or whatever the situation is, like, let me see this through your eyes. Like, let me see that. And then that's where the tolerance and the patience and the love comes in, because you're seeing it in a different perspective, right? I mean, that's the reason why we're doing this fourth step, right? Because we're looking at fear, we're looking at resentment, and then on the next couple of pages, the next part. But you take those pieces, and when you remove those pieces, your perception of the world around you is now different. So now I can see the world without fear. I can see the world without anger. I can see the world without resentment. These are all the pieces of the fourth step that we're doing right now. And the reason is to now fit yourself in the world with people around you, with tolerance and compassion. And I just think that prayer really helped me a lot, because going through my fourth step, a lot of what I pulled out, and this is why I'm pissed off at the people in the grocery store, and I've so done that, like the sigh, and I'm with all of you, I've done that, is my inability of acceptance of other people. So I'm not accepting that you may be in a rush. I'm not accepting that, you may be getting on the line because you have a fear of being around COVID, or like the example you gave me, like, I can't accept that because my needs go first, right? My selfish self wants to get in and out. And what follows with that is my expectation. I expect you to get on the right line when I get in the grocery store. I expect that if there's an arrow going one way for COVID, you're not going the other way. And then I get angry. So that's my expectation. Like, if I'm doing it, then you should. So there's no acceptance of what other people do. Like, they make mistakes. So that's me walking around the world in judgment, saying, you can't make any mistakes. I can. Like, I can totally get on the wrong line. And I can go, oops, sorry. Or I can stay, like, one of my favorite examples is I can be at a traffic light, and if it's me and the traffic light turns green and I don't go, in my head I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, or I wasn't paying attention, and I have a reason of why. I understand. If the person in front of me is at the traffic light and doesn't go when the light turns green, I'm like, are you blind? I'm like, why don't you just go? So it's the acceptance of, if I can make a mistake, so can you. If I take away my expectations and my anger and, and see the world without all the resentments, it's a completely different world. Now I'm happy and accepting. Thank you so much for my share.
Thank you so much, Kat. Beverly?
Hi, good morning, everybody. Beverly, alcoholic. Another form of selfishness that we've been talking about for me is self-pity. A couple of months ago, I suffered a really deep loss. I won't go into it here, but recently I had an interaction with a couple of family members that I hadn't talked to in a while, and they did not even acknowledge it. Nothing about, oh, I'm sorry for your loss or anything. And that hurt my feelings. I didn't say anything. Thank God I didn't say anything. I just went on with the conversation normally. But it did, because these are what I consider close family members. And I did go into a little bit of self-pity there. I did. But you know what? What I did not do in the past, and this is just part of my family dynamic, and this is how we relate to each other, I would have taken something that a family member did to me and hurt me and talked to another family member about it. That's gossip, like Britt was talking about. That's part of our family dynamic, and I did not do that this time. I kept it to myself. I'm sharing about it here. But, I am so grateful for that. I don't want to relate to my family that way. We punish each other with gossiping about each other. I don't want to be a part of it. Thank God for these steps and the truth, and I don't need to be in self-pity, and I am not a victim. I could just take the higher road and accept people. Everybody deals with grief different. And,
I am just starting to get a better understanding of human nature, and it is because of these steps. It is because of God in my life. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Beverly. And just because it came to my head, and usually if it comes to my head, it means someone in the room needed to hear it. I know Priv and Beverly both talked about gossip, as well as, when things come up, we need to talk to them to people. We have to remember that if we're talking to someone about a situation in our life, we have to make sure it's an unaffected person. So if I'm having trouble with my boyfriend, I'm not going to tell someone that knows him directly, because it could affect their relationship with him. For example, my ex was friends with my step 10 buddy, Alexis. And so if I was always calling Alexis going, oh my God, he did this and he did this and he did this, and right? Then I'm telling someone that can be affected. So that's why it's really great to have people outside of your circle as your spiritual advisor. Otherwise, I'm telling you, it's gossip. Right? I have a group chat. In the group chat, there's 6 of us ladies. We've all been through this process. We're living the spiritual life. I'm not going to say anything in that group chat about anybody else that is friends with anybody in the group chat, because that's gossip. If I have a problem with someone that none of us know, or if it's not something that could be construed as gossip, we had a friend that relapsed and needed support. And so it wasn't a secret that that friend had relapsed. And so in that group chat, I said, so-and-so needs someone to pick up their child today. I'm not available. Can you pick up the child? Right? That's friends helping friends. That's not gossiping. Gossiping would have been like, oh, did you hear so-and-so gossiped or relapsed? Blah, blah, blah. We have to be careful not to cross that line. Gossip's the worst offense I find in my life. It's such a nasty thing, right? So we have to be very careful who we say things to and what about. And it's okay to leave out names too, right? You don't have to name someone if somebody said something that's offended you. I could call Joanne, who I'm going to talk to in a sec. I could say, oh, Joanne, this person said this, and it just hit me, and I've been so upset, and this is what I said back to that person. I don't even have to tell Joanne who that person is when I'm calling to get support. And she can go, well, did you think of it from this angle? I'll be like, no. And she goes, I think you owe that person an amends. And I'll go, ugh. And I can hang up the phone, and she could not even know who it is, right? All she knows is what happened and that there was a situation. So, and that way I'm not gossiping about a person. Okay, Marianne, then Joanne, quick, and then we're going to get to column 3. Yeah. Whoop, whoop.
So I found, like, when I was new at this process, and even sometimes I get twisted up in this whole resentment thing if I haven't done what I need to do to master the resentment. And I was talking to my grant sponsor once, and I was saying, I've been trying the sick man's prayer, and it just doesn't seem to be coming. She said, Marianne, they don't have to change. You do. You have king alcohol waiting there to kill you. That statement hit me hard. Thanks.
Thank you. Whoops, I hit your button again. Joanne?
Hi, everyone. Joanne, alcoholic. 2 things. One, Kimberly, what you had just said, it broke my heart, but I had to end a sponsor-sponsee relationship. I fired my sponsor because we were in the same group, and I couldn't honestly talk about my husband, who was also in the same group, because she would never get a full perspective of who he is, because I'm just talking about the distress, not how wonderful he is. And so so I'm in New Hampshire, so I found a Canadian sponsor. So I feel much distance now. But the other thing I wanted to share on column 2 is I recently heard a speaker, and it really helped me be, if you keep going to meetings, you get new ideas. And on the second column, what he said is to ask yourself, say, how did I want it different? Because I am, like, this year was really hard for me. There were so many, and I'm about to do another 4th step. There were so many things that were hard because, and the anger that came out was that I wanted it different. I wanted it different. My brother-in-law killed himself. I'm mad at him because I wanted him not to do that. You know, this happened and this happened. And so I can, because if I don't acknowledge my tantrum of I want what I want when I want it, and this is how I'm going to control everything, and I don't acknowledge it, I use all that energy to hold it in and not move forward into the freedom that comes from accepting life on life's terms and the peace that comes from that. But in between accepting life on life's terms and I want what I want is all that other columns that we work through. And that's all I wanted to share. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Joanne. Love seeing you back here. Must be summer in school. We got all our teachers here today. I like it. That's awesome. All right, ladies. So we're going to backtrack back to page 65. I just really wanted to talk about mastering resentments today because this is where a lot of people, they've done their column 1, they've done their column 2, and they've got a big sheet of shit. And they're like, oh, all these assholes did all this stuff to me. Blah. Right? We don't want you there. So we want you to start to kind of have little tools, and one of them is the sick man prayer. Those people in column 1 are sick. Their symptoms of why they're sick are in column 2. And how can we do that? How can we deal with it? We can realize they're sick people. We can pray for them, right? And we're able to set boundaries with them. But now we're going to start some good stuff where we're going to start to shift to us. Remember I said column 1 and column 2 are fact finders so that they help us guide to us. Well, the bridge to that gap is column 3. So column 3 is quite simple. It says, in most cases, we found it was our self-esteem, our pocketbooks, our ambition, our personal and sex relations were hurt or threatened. So we were sore. We were burned up. We're angry. We're angry because we got hurt. But now we got to see what was hurt. On our grudge list, we set opposite each name our injuries. So the column 3's title is our injuries, my injuries. It's not how I was hurt or what I was hurt, nothing to do with hurt. Column 3 is my injuries. Okay, and we have 5 choices: self-esteem, security, ambitions, personal or sex relation. So it's pretty simple. We go, okay, line number 1, person number 1, situation number 1. Did it hurt my self-esteem? Did it hurt my security? Did it hurt my ambition? Did it hurt my personal relations? Or my sex relations? If the answer is yes, you write it down. If the answer is no, you don't. Very simple. It's a yes or no. It's methodical. Okay, so we're going to go back to our guide sheet, which, look at this. I got it all ready to go today. Look at that smooth transition. I should be in television. So it's my injuries. So here with the ex-boyfriend, I have all 5. Here with McDonald's, I only have 2. Here with gas prices, I have 3. But if we go to our other sheets, you find the legend. So you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can number them when you write it down, or you can write out the whole word. I prefer to write out the whole word because when I'm reading it back, it makes it easier. So it says, okay, which one is it? Number 1, did it hurt my self-esteem? That's easy. Did it hurt my ego? Did it hurt my pride? Did it hurt my self-esteem? Did it hurt my confidence? Number 2 is security. Security can be broken down into a number of things. Emotional security, mental security, physical security, spiritual security, economical security. So that's your money. Right? If someone's stealing from you, it's going to hit your economical security. If someone is constantly berating you and calling you names, that's going to hit your mental security. If someone's beating you, that's your physical security. If someone's denouncing your belief in a higher power, or you're going to church or you're praying, that's your spiritual security. And emotional is your feelings. And that can include anger. If you're constantly anger, it's affecting your emotional security. Also, like playing with your love emotions. There's lots of different scenarios here for security. Ambitions is your goals and dreams in life. Is it affecting your goals and dreams in life? Is your boyfriend telling you you'll never get promoted? Is your boyfriend telling you you can't travel or he's going to leave you? My ambition in life is to travel. He ain't going to stick around long if he's telling me I can't travel now, is he? Why? Because he's hitting my ambitions. Personal relationships. This can be anybody, any other human. It can be a coworker. It can be your neighbor. It can be your cousin. It could be your mom. It could be your dad. Anybody. Brother, sister, children, whomever. That's a personal relationship. Sexual relationship is the intimate relations, right? It doesn't mean you're actually having sex with them, but if it's a gentleman you're interested in and it affects him, that's your sexual relationships, now or in the future. So if my ex was abusive and manipulative and gossiping and lying, is that going to affect my future relations with a new guy? Yeah, it is. So if you're single right now, that situation could still affect future sexual relations, right? We got trust issues, ladies. Stems from somewhere. It's usually from column 1 on this list. So we get to pick one of each 5 of those columns. This legend is in your package that I sent you. Questions? Clarification?
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead, Irene.
I think you answered it, but I want to confirm. I'm trying to come under self-esteem. You had said ego. If I felt like I wasn't being appreciated and shown gratitude when I'm giving 90% and the other person's giving 10%, and it angers me because I feel like you're asking so little, so I get angry. Would that come under my emotional security or more under my ego?
That's going to be both. It'll be both. It'll totally be both, right? Because it's going to affect your self-esteem. Yeah, right? And it can also affect your pride where you think you're better than because you're giving 90% and the other person's only giving 10. Like there's so many twisted ways our brains play with this stuff, right? But it's self-esteem for sure, as well as emotional security.
Okay,
yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Brenda, go ahead. Hi, nice to see you.
I can unmute. Okay, so what just resonated with me is under the personal relationships column, seeing how vulnerable and impressionable I have been to other people's gossip and making judgments of other people based on their gossip and judgments of them. And I've gotten caught in that a lot. You know, like I might like the person and then somebody else has something negative to say about them or points out their faults and all that stuff. And then I've taken that in and I have affected in a relationship based on that. And that just came to me right now. I've seen it happen, but that's the personal relationships file right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a gift that was given to me earlier in my sobriety was one of my spiritual advisors said, why do people feel so comfortable gossiping to you? Today, nobody gossips to me. It gets shut down so fast that nobody even comes to me with that stuff. I haven't had someone gossip to me in a long time. Gossip about me? Now that's another story. That list's a mile long, right? And we'll get to that when we talk about amends later down the street, because I've had that experience of people making amends for gossip. And I'm just like, did you go clear up the lie to all of the people you lied to? the amends really isn't to me, it's to everyone else that you lied to, right? So that's a good question to ask yourself if you find yourself being the recipient of a lot of gossip. Why do people feel comfortable telling me these things? And it can be a number of things. It can be because you join in, right? That's one thing. People love to sit in their misery with others. And if you're a joiner-inner, you go, oh, yeah, I know. Oh, yeah. And then you turn around and do it too, or you've gossiped to that person so they feel comfortable gossiping to you. Or they might think you're impressionable. And people love to get people on their side and gang up on people, right? So it's like, am I the impressionable one? Am I the gossiper? Or am I the joiner-inner, right? Because there's those, me, I'm the shutter-downer. I rarely get people calling me with gossip. Melissa! Hello.
Melissa, alcoholic. You know, you really have me thinking about gossip, and it never really occurred to me before how it really is such a... The problem isn't the gossip, it's the stack of character defects underneath the conversation, right? And I think about this with my students a lot. One of the skills I'm trying to teach them is not to repeat gossip. So someone will come to me and say, "Oh, so and so, I heard that so and so said this about you." And my first question would be, and actually I deal with this as a union rep too. Why do you think that person told you that? That person who's passing along, like, I heard so-and-so call you a bad name, and then they go tell the person that they were speaking of. And I think what I'm trying to get them to realize is that passing it along is, or even telling the victim of the gossip that people are gossiping about them, is just as bad. And when I ask the kids, why would you pass along some sad news like that? Why would you want to do that? Well, she's my friend. Well, to me, that's not friendship. It's just propagating ugliness, right? So thanks for bringing up the gossip.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's one thing that, if I can say nip it in the butt, nip it in the butt. It's like it's the worst. It's the worst. It's funny. I'm going to tell a really quick story before I go to Marianne. Oh, she put her hand down. Never mind. She don't want to talk today? So Nicholas, my son, he found, about a year and a half ago, he was walking home from school and he found a Starbucks gift card on the sidewalk, and he found it by a bus stop. So he came straight home and he said, "Mom, I found this Starbucks gift card on my walk home." And I said, okay. There was no name on it. We looked, and I called Starbucks because I know the girl that works down the way, and she said it's not registered. There's no real way to find the owner, and it's a major commuter street where he found it. I said, we have no way of finding whose card that is. I said, so you can keep the card, but I want you to buy a coffee for someone in line when you use it. And he said, okay. Well, this kid went and told everybody he could possibly think of that he found this Starbucks card. So, of course, some kid 2 weeks later goes, "Nick's been telling everybody he found a Starbucks card. That's my card. I lost it." And she's like, my name was on it. That's the only way we knew it wasn't hers, is there was no name on it. I had checked both sides. So the other day he comes home from school and he's holding this key with this school keychain. Melissa's going to die when she hears this. I'm like, what is that? He's like, I found a master key for the school. And I'm like, Nicholas! I'm like, you have to hand that back into the office. You cannot have a master key. He goes, I learned my lesson last time, Mom. I didn't tell anybody I found it. No one knows. And I'm like, you need to give it back to the school. But he had learned his lesson about gossiping from last time. But he still returned the master key to the school because I was like, you cannot have a master key. Marianne.
So the same grant sponsor who told me about the other thing also said, when I do change, she said, they're not going to like you, Marianne. That has come true. They don't, because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like when I said, you know, I was in the trenches. There was a period in my sobriety I wanted to be part of the cool kids, and I wanted to be part of the social scene, and part of that was they were very toxic and they were very gossipy, and I got right in there with them, and I stepped out of that arena, and I said this isn't healthy and I don't like this, and then I went on my path of this journey, and I got gossiped about hard. I got mud slung at me hard. And what did I do? I did not retaliate or argue. I kept going. And yeah, if anything from this lesson, you know, the simplest things are gossip and we don't even think about it. It's like, oh, it's so hard. But any questions on our column 3? Brenda, go ahead.
Again, another thing just resonated with me is people lying, and I'm in a situation where someone lies so much that it's almost gaslighting, you know, like it's, oh my God. And I'm thinking, oh, there's a mental emotional security, right? And it's like, I just wrote that down because it's like, I can get so caught in that too, you know, thinking I'm the crazy one, like, and there's column 1, right there, sick people. And anyway, I just wanted to share that. I saw that too today, right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you've ever dated a narcissist or a couple, you know, they have all sorts of fun games. And I tell you, the best way to get out of those fun games is to go on Google and read everything you can read about narcissists. It'll blow your mind. And until you educate yourself on it, you're going to be stuck in the cycle for sure. So that's your homework for today. Column 3, we've got our self-esteem, our security, our ambitions, our personal and sex relations. And it's an easy task because it's a yes-no. Did it affect it? Yes or no. Write it down if it did. Don't if it didn't, right? So it should be, and you'll see a pattern. You'll see it start to repeat. You'll start to see some patterns come up here as we move into the next few columns, and that's okay. And that's where you can use your little ditto marks, whatever works for you. If your hand gets tired from writing all 5 things out on each one. All right. Priv, go ahead.
You may have just answered my question because we're going into every instance here. So I would notice in your example, you have like your whole list of why I was angry, but then you've only listed each injury once.
Yes. Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
With all of
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
I mean, I've got the why I was angry, but I'm just going to list my injuries one time, not for each and every instance.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Because it's going to repeat. It's totally going to repeat. Yeah. And like I said, if you've got hundreds of resentments, ladies, if you've written down, just say you've written down over 50 people, places, or things, it's going to start to repeat after 10. I'm going to tell you that. And that's okay if, you know, you can just put the little repeats. And that's where you can start writing the 1, 2, 3. Because the eye opener will come in the 10 when we're reading it. Right? You'll be like, whoa, okay, I get it. Like, I don't think it's going to take you to 50 to have the whoa moment. I think you'll have the whoa moment by 10. Hopefully. So if you've got 400 and you're at like 375 and you haven't had your whoa moment, we need to have a chat. Okay, let's close up with the Serenity Prayer. For those who came late, I'm wearing my house coat because my AC is cranked because it's 100 degrees here. So I am not turning down.
If your hand does get tired, get a squeeze ball.
A squeeze ball. And do your Kegels, ladies. That's your homework.
All right.
All right, ladies. Who's going to keep us sober this weekend? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.
Service.
Thanks, everybody.